Okay, welcome everybody to the Monday Mastermind. We're glad that you made it. Sorry we're running a bit late. It was all my fault. I had a huge disaster. Well, not a huge disaster. I mean, that's a little bit of over exaggeration. But man, I sent out an email to my list and I completely promoted Wisdom Wednesday instead of tonight's hangout. And I got to apologize for that. If you got that email, first of all, the link wasn't working, and then I thought, let me go and correct the link. So I read through the whole email, and I corrected the link for Wisdom Wednesday again, like a oh my goodness, I couldn't believe I did that. But anyway, we fixed it up now, and that was my huge blunder or my huge mistake. But actually, it's kind of part of this topic today. Today we're talking about the biggest mistakes online marketers make online. And I got to say, this is something that, well, Katie was just saying she's actually done the same thing. And there are mistakes that you make in your online marketing. And this is one of the mistakes that I think you shouldn't really worry about, because you're going to make mistakes like this. It only shows people that you're human. And it's just one of the things that happen. But before we actually get into the topic today, let's go through our panel and find out how everything is going. I believe that Pops and Katie have been doing a lot of moving around and fixing stuff. And so, Pops, tell us, how is everything going for you, if you can speak?
I think I can. Awesome. Things are going really well. We are still at the RV shop. They have to take this thing into the shop in the morning and do some work that unexpectedly cropped up before they turn us loose, which speaks volumes for this place. They are allowing us to stay on their site, fully hooked up, electricity and everything, until everything is resolved. It's fantastic. I would come back to these people when I'm ready to buy again, although they don't sell my favorite camper, because the last one we had is made by the same company that they represent, and so I would probably go with another used one. Otherwise, yeah, things are going great. Getting some work done, getting stuff set up, and we are moving forward with our businesses, or am I moving forward with mine? I guess Katie can speak for herself, but we're doing well. Thanks.
Awesome. And I got to say, I saw that whole transition thing while Katie was taking me on a tour of her of your guys' campers that you're using. But Katie, why don't you tell us more about that? How's your week been going? How are things going for you?
It's going really well. I've been putting forward my really good skills on being organized and putting stuff where it makes sense to me anyways, so we can find things. We do have a lot more room, even though it's just really neat to like find a camper that just really fits our lifestyle and just what it could do for a full time, because we learned that or didn't fit the full-time lifestyle. So it's really interesting that we went through that. So anyways, I just wanted to say we had I cooked a delicious steak before the hangout, and now I'm having my dessert, which is a Guinness. So that's my dessert. But anyways, life is good. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks. Back to you in the studio.
Awesome. And I see that we have Steve and Pearson, my buddy from South Africa, on here. We got Robert, we got Jovi, and a whole bunch of other people. Mary Beth, welcome to you as well. And we're so glad you made it. So say hello in the comments if you're not logged in. And before I carry on, I haven't forgotten you, buddy. That's my good friend, Jamie Shaw. And Jamie, how have things been going for you? I know you normally get the link from me like an hour or so.
I was sweating it, dude. You know, I always got a link before I pull in the driveway. An hour before I get home, I got a link from Dave. And he's, you know, I sit down on my computer and it's like 22. And I'm like, Dave hasn't sent me a link yet. He go to sleep? Oh, I'm there or what? So, and you know, then earlier today he sends out an email to Wisdom Wednesday. I'm like, what's going on with him? So we all make mistakes. It's just part of growing up as a marketer. Part of stepping out of your comfort zone. You're going to make mistakes. I've had a not too bad of a week. My wife is sick, my daughter's sick, my grandson's sick, and I think they're giving it to me because I started feeling crappy yesterday. But I'm just keeping on, like as Dave says, and just going with the flow. I've been self-medicating before I go to bed so I can make it through the day. So, but I'm working on a few things behind the scenes and stuff. So I got some things coming out for too long, but I'm keeping them secret for now. So. But
awesome.
Other than that, I've had a pretty good week. So
awesome, buddy. And speaking of secret, I got something in the irons going there myself, which I'm working on, and I believe Katie's working on something. We've all got projects in the background going on. I know that Pops is working on a business, and that's really what marketing is all about, especially being an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur has a couple of irons in the fire. Always, because we're always interested in different income streams, and that's one of the things we love about this business, is that it provides us the chance to say we're actually worth so much. We want to be worth so much, and we can technically just raise our paycheck every month because we have the skill set to do it, and that's exactly what we do. And so because when you work for a normal 9-to-5 job, you're set with a salary, you're set with a certain amount of money you get every month, and that's what you're worth, $12 an hour or $14 an hour, whatever the case is. And I know I'm worth a lot more than that. I know that Pops is a lot more than that, same as Jamie, same as Katie, and everybody else watching here. Because we are entrepreneurs, we want to earn a lot more money so that we can have the freedom and choice to do exactly what we want to do. Part of the reason why we've got this topic today about mistakes online marketers make is to let you know that we've actually been down this road before, and we want to prevent you from falling into the same holes that we have, because I believe if you know this, it'll also help you prevent yourself from falling into this trap. And there are a couple of things that I want to talk about. I know that Katie and Jamie and Pops have some stuff they want to say as well, but I'm going to talk about my first one. In fact, no, I won't say anything because I'll give the other guys a chance to say something. But we'll start off with Jamie. And Jamie, you can start off with the biggest mistake you made in online marketing and what you've learned from it.
Oh, I'd have to say the biggest goof, mistake, whatever you want to call it, I've made in online marketing was, many of you know I run my own webinar. I'm in the middle of the webinar. Dave remembers this because he was on it. I'm in the middle of the webinar. I'm screen sharing, and I go out of screen share. Instead of hitting stop screen sharing, I hit stop the webinar and shut down the whole webinar right in the middle of the webinar. And then I had to jump through hoops to get it back on live because people's on there watching, So that's probably my biggest mistake, But other mistakes I've made along the way.
I mean, okay, so if you can think of a mistake that you have learned from so that it's actually prevented you, so you've learned from this so you don't do this anymore, what would be one of those things?
One of the biggest mistakes I did early is I didn't collect email addresses. I did not build my list. And building your list is the biggest key to running an online business or a home business, online marketing, affiliate marketing, whatever avenue you're pursuing. You have to build that list. Collecting emails. I don't have a huge list, but I do have a list. I don't email them every day, but I do email them. So you should cultivate your list every day. Like Dave is doing. You should email them every day. The one reason, that's one thing I got in the hopper. I'm going through an email marketing class to learn how to write better. I know I have some pretty good writing skills, but I want to improve on them writing skills. So, so that's one of the classes I'm taking. And actually it's from, a big mentor that we have. And then I have another email marketing class that I'm taking from who we use, Aweber. They sent me a free marketing class. Here, take this class. So I started going through it, and it's like, well, I didn't know Aweber could do a lot of this stuff. Well, if you go through one of their email marketing classes, you learn how you can do it, how to structure your sentences, how to grab people's attention with the emails and stuff. So that's one of the things I had in the hopper that I didn't want to really let out the secret, but who cares? But that's my biggest takeaway, is that I didn't collect email addresses. And I've been in home business, online marketing for probably 9 years. And, them first 7 years I didn't collect email addresses. How big would my list be now if I'd collected emails all them years?
Absolutely, man. And I got to say, just talking about emailing, that's one thing I didn't do as well when I first got into this I started 11 years ago, and then I just failed miserably for 7 years. And even when I got started, I didn't think much about collecting emails because I thought it was a waste of time. But the one thing I will say is that if you have an offer, if you've got a capture page of any sort, your number one priority is to go and get traffic, send it to that website so you can collect emails and then start emailing your prospects once a day and just sharing with people what you are about. Tell them about your journey. Tell them about personal things, because the more you connect with people that way, the more you start to build a relationship. If you're not pitching and you're just emailing, that's definitely a way that you can actually build a connection with your prospects. And whenever you do have something of value to share, and you do want to show somebody a tool that you've used, that's when they're more likely to listen to you, not if you're pitching them every day. But with that being said, we'll go over to Katie, and Katie can tell us about one of the biggest mistakes she's made in marketing, something that she's learned from that now she doesn't do ever.
Okay, so my thing, I don't know if you can see it in the replay, but I did a big, huge snap like that because that was one of my biggest mistakes, is not building my list. So that is super important. So just listen to us when we say to build your list ASAP. So I'll have to say one of the big mistakes that I didn't do is not understanding what I was selling, if that makes any sense whatsoever, because I was in it for the money. Maybe that was a true mistake, because I was in it for the money, so I wasn't really understanding, the whole. I was fed up with all the hype, or I was fed the hype, so I spewed the hype, right? So that's just what I did, and I didn't understand, and it was just all about the money first. So, and it wasn't about the people and helping people succeed in their business. It was just all about me, 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 me. So in a sense, I guess that was the biggest mistake, is that I didn't tell me. That was terrible. Ugh. I'm just like, ugh. It's like grimy. It's like, ugh, I can't believe I thought that. I thought that way. So what I learned from that is I saw a huge turnaround. I had to work on myself. So it's probably one of the biggest things that I learned was that feeling of just letting go. Okay, it's not about me, it's about somebody else and helping them and solving problems. And there's actually a lot more gratification in that than the money part of it. It's kind of like you're doing what you love, and it doesn't matter what you get paid, kind of thing. So that's pretty much what I learned from that. So, but Jamie kind of threw me off. It's like, dang it, what am I going to say? But because that was the biggest mistake, is the email list. So my second one would be it was about me. So that was a mistake.
Yeah, and I will say, and before I carry on anymore, I made another tiny little mistake there. That was, I called it, what, David? I was supposed to say David Roden instead of Dade. What is going on with me today? My typing skills are horrific. David, so good, man, that you joined us. And David's also, he's on my team. And just wanted to say welcome, buddy. And we really appreciate you. And we've got to get on to a Zoom call together with a couple of my business partners, so we can officially welcome you, man. It's so good to see you. Absolutely. The whole money thing, man, I got to say, that's all you think about when you start is how can I make money? How can I make money? How can I make money? And what you don't realize is that you're not focusing on the act, you're not focusing on your skills. You're not focusing on helping other people. All you're concerned about is the money thing. And it's interesting that what you're focusing on is what people see. You know, people will see what you're focusing on, and they'll see right through the facade. They'll see right through it. And so Katie wants to add to that. For Katie.
Yeah, actually, I have to give you 3 examples. I'm going to go through 3 people who reached out to me just yesterday, and they all had something to sell to me. The first person I've known since 2013, and I've actually invested in his programs before, and I deemed him one of my mentors, but not like a private mentor, you know, or a coach or anything like that. I just had to watch what he was doing. He's completely about honesty and integrity. He reaches out to me on Facebook with a voice message, and he says, I have something to sell you. This is a pitch. Here it is. So he wanted to share with me. The second person, I kind of known her since 2015-ish, and I've met her in person. And the conversation started with, I'm not here to pitch you, blah, 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 blah. The third person I connected on Facebook, never met in person. I have no idea what he does. And what he did is he says, I just made $115,000 in one day, and I can teach you how to do that. Guess who I reached out to and gave my attention to and actually looked at what they were doing? If you guys want to guess that, you guys can guess that in the comments. Much gave it away, but you know what I mean? I'll just leave it at that.
I think people want to know.
I know they do.
Okay.
So it was the guy who literally told me that he had a pitch. Someone I've trusted, someone I've made money with before in the past. And so I went to go take a look. It ended up where I wasn't interested in what he had, which is fine. But the thing is that he was all about, hey, I have a pitch. He's straightforward. I have something that you can look at. We can make some money together, blah, 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 blah. So in the end, he was completely straightforward. And I know that he's in it for the best interest of other people and not just for himself. When somebody comes to you and they're like, oh, I'm not here to pitch you, or all of a sudden they're throwing money screenshots at you or something like that, that turns me off. That turns me away, right? It's just like, okay, you're not asking me first if I'm interested or if you know who I am or something like that. But when it's somebody that I know, that's a little bit different. But I just wanted to express the difference in that.
No, I totally get that. And it's probably a lesson that everybody here can learn is be straightforward with people. Don't beat around the bush. Just be as straightforward as you can, because if you are straightforward with people, they know at least where you're coming from, even if it's something they may not like. But the problem is, if you beat around the bush and you try and soften the blow, what you're going to end up doing is having somebody giving you a headache. And I've had that happen to me many times. And the only way you can solve it is just by coming out right with it. But let's go over to Pops and ask him, what is one of the biggest lessons you've learned inside this online marketing industry, and that you've learned from that you'll never do it again? What is that?
That was not getting back to people. I would get emails and not call them back. I would pre-frame them in my mind sometimes. But the biggest reason I didn't do that is because I didn't learn from the tools that I had in the back office. So I really didn't know what I was going to talk to them about. You know, I was kind of like Katie, and I suppose everybody else at the beginning. It's all about the money. And I'm thinking, you know, you already looked at the capture page, you already looked at the videos and all that stuff. So why do I got to talk to you? You should just sign up. I did, you know. So I'm prejudging them, like, okay, if they didn't already sign up, then they're probably not gonna. Why should I waste my breath on them and get back to them? Part of that was that, and the other part was the fear of rejection. And I finally got over that, and now if they say no, I say, okay, maybe another time, or whatever I would say now. But it was not getting back to people like I should have. And that goes with what we're all about, is the attraction marketing. Get it back to them and get them to know you and trust you. And getting back to them is the only way that that's going to happen. And they're not just going to sign up by watching a video. Now, what I thought they should and would, but they didn't. And again, I didn't go through the stuff and the tools in the back office, so I still wouldn't really have been able to answer their questions anyway. So that mistake will never happen again.
I actually have as one of my habits for success, and that is exactly what Pops has said, is that always get back to people. And I add the pretext as soon as possible. If you're going to get back to somebody in 2 days' time, just forget it, because you just in the prospect size, at least, I feel that's rude. If you can get back to somebody within 12 hours, I would say within 12 hours. And the reason I'll say within 12 hours is, even if you can't answer the question fully, get back to that person and say, look, I heard what you said. Give me a few days to get back to you. That's at least better than saying, or waiting 2 days and then say, I can finally give you an answer. Because number one, they're probably not going to see your email. And number two, even if you do call them, they're going to think you're just being rude. And number three, would you like that happen to you? You know, it's like if I was ever in sales and somebody came to me and said, I'd like to buy this TV. And I said, look, we don't have the model here, but what I can do is I can check for you and find out if that model is available. Just give me your number. If I was the prospect, I would want to be called immediately. And that's what we do. We go home and we wait. And even if you don't have the answer immediately, it's always good to call them and say, I want you to know I haven't got a result today, but I will keep contacting them. And your prospect will feel so much better because you've made the connection at least. Sometimes they don't even want the problem solved. All they want is for them to know that you have them on their mind. And I have been treated like that before, and it's just an amazing thing. And the benefit of that is your customer always comes back to you. When you can stand out and make the difference, your customer will always come back to you. I often, when I go to these stores, and I tell them to stand out as salesmen, because I tell them this is what I do, and I say, why don't you just stand out and get yourself a pink pen or pink whistle and put it around your neck, or a pink hat, or something that makes you stand out. That way, if they call, they can say, I spoke to the guy with the pink hat. And, you stand out. If you're just boring like the rest, nobody's going to listen to you. And that's especially with getting back to people. So I want to talk about the number one mistake I made and that I've learned from. And probably the thing that got me going to where I actually saw results, in the sense that I started learning strategies, I started implementing actions and doing it on a consistent basis. And that was I stopped getting distracted by things that were not relevant to my business. And that meant putting parts of my life on hold for a while. It means that I've got to stop going out with my friends. I've got to stop watching TV series from 8 o'clock until 3 in the morning. I've got to stop doing all of that stuff. And you might be saying, well, Dave, doesn't that really take away from your life? And I'm saying, you know what? If it's going to take away from my life for a little bit so that I can experience a life of absolute independence later, or financial freedoms later, who cares? As Pat Patterson says, if it's going to take you 3 to 5 years, who cares? And so what everybody else thinks. If everybody else wants to do their own thing and party all night and everything like that, where are they going to be in 5 to 10 years' time? What are they going to be doing in 5 to 10 years' time? And I can tell you right now that just remembering 5 to 10 years back of people that still have the same lifestyle, they are still working in the same environment. They haven't got any promotion, and they just keep on going through each day because they're living a mediocre life and they're not taking any massive action to change. And this is what I'm saying. If you're going to start out with a business, you absolutely need to make a change. You need to start focusing, and the key word here is focus, is to focus on what you need to do. So I made a conscious decision not, if somebody called me up and say, hey, we're doing this thing Saturday, I would say, I'm sorry, I'm working. And they call me up again the following week, say, sorry, I'm working. If they call me up, sorry, and then I became known as this guy that always works and never goes out and doesn't have a life and all of that stuff. But you know what? Now that I'm financially independent, I'm a six-figure earner in my country, who's laughing now? They're the ones that are still working a 9-to-5 job. They're the ones that still are slogging through the day. And I'm the one that can decide on a Wednesday afternoon to decide to go to the beach if I want to and just do anything I want because I have the freedom to do it. And because I decided to focus on my business. And that is the number one mistake that I learned. So if I decide to do something, I make that my focus. And even though I am a focused person, before I got into this industry, my focus was everywhere else. It wasn't aimed at what was important. And yes, you will have to make some sacrifices. But if you want financial independence, if you want financial freedom, you have to make sacrifices in your life. You cannot divide your life up and spend all your time outside, come back, write a blog, and then go out again. It doesn't work like that. All right, you have to be focused. And look at Shamila. You know, if she's watching, I just want everybody to know that Shamila is a person that is focused. You know, I look at her lives now, and usually when somebody gets on a live, they've got one person or 0 people or one person viewing, and that's yourself. But with Shamila, she gets 10, 15 people the moment she goes on live because she is focused, she is dedicated, and she is not distracted by everything else. And she's got kids. So, I don't have any kids, and she's got kids, and she's able to do it. I know a guy who has 10 kids. 10 kids. You got to be kidding me. How much time does this guy get? And he does an online business. He works himself a computer business as well. I'm not talking about Jamie. He doesn't have 10 kids. But he's a programmer. And you can't tell me you don't have the amount of time to focus on that. So that was one of the biggest changes I made in my online business. So let's go over to Jamie and ask him another mistake that he's learned from that he doesn't do anymore.
That choked me up, Dave. I was in the middle of a drink when you said that, and it choked me all up. Now, one thing I have to admit, I'm a recovering spammer. I had to go to Spammers Anonymous to learn how to quit spamming because I spam my link out there everywhere, any place I could put it, so, and it wasn't until I got around people like Dave, Katie, Pops, Pat Patterson, that I learned, Diane Hockman, people like that, Ray Higdon, and I learned there's a better way. That online business is just like traditional business. It's about relationships that you cultivate, people you meet, and, and you still see it every day. I got a Facebook message yesterday. Somebody I didn't even know, and they sent me a friend request. I checked them all out. Okay, fine. They look like a legitimate marketer, so I accept their friend request. What I get automatically, boom, a link. Join my deal. I mean, people, it doesn't work, so quit doing it. I'm a former spammer. I know it doesn't work. You may get a lead here or there, but you're not going to get consistent results because people are looking for somebody that they can build a relationship with, somebody that will help them out when they need help, point them in the right direction when they need pointed in the right direction. Not so much hand-holding, but just somebody to mentor them, and someone that they know, like, and trust.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I didn't know if you were done or not. And that's a fundamental one, I think. And I think it actually comes from the idea that people want to run before they learn how to crawl. And I think it's because they're in a position where they think that the only way that they're going to get notoriety is that they just tell people how amazing things are. And that's what people do when they generally don't have any results, is they try and pretend to be something they're not. And so they're therefore sending out all of these links saying, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, and nobody's actually looking. Because first, it's annoying, and second, it builds up your reputation, and you brand yourself as a spammer. So getting out of that brand is almost impossible. I mean, people still call me the 24-hour marketer, or in Katie's state, the 48-hour marketer. I was almost up for the entire weekend. This weekend, I was up Saturday, Sunday, and part of Monday. So 2.5 days of being up because I was so excited about what I wanted to do. But I have since not branded myself that, and I'm still getting called the 24-hour marketer. People still call me that. So be careful about spamming, because you're branding yourself, you're hurting yourself, and people can see right through it. They can see right through it. And if you don't believe me, just carry on, and you'll know what I mean. But the moment you stop spamming and you behave like you already have a result, you behave in a civilized manner, not in a way that you have a result, but just being honest with people, you'll get much further. So with that being said, let's go over to Miss Katie Stage and ask her, what was the next thing? And don't tell me you don't have any more, because I know you got tons of stuff.
I got tons of stuff. Something I'm actually still struggling with is telling more of my story. Honestly, I feel like no one wants to listen. I don't know exactly. Maybe I have to be compelling enough. I have to have this like rock bottom like story where I'm homeless and have to live in a car, which is not true. I know better than that, but I still feel that who wants to hear my story? Because I feel like it's boring, but for somebody else, it's probably interesting. So I have to still battle with that. Like, I'm not used to talking about myself, and it's just really awkward. But it's just one of those things where stepping out of my comfort zone and making it happen, and coming up with stuff that I can share. So I have written down in my notebook about, because Dave and I actually talked about this in Pops. We sat down one probably Sunday afternoon, I'm not really sure. And we were talking, and it's like, okay, you've had 31 jobs in 17 years. How about you can go through 31 jobs, each specific job that you've had, and you can share something of a lesson that you learn in each of those jobs. And I was really inspired to do that, and I started to write some stuff down. I kind of I didn't take action. So I'm like, I didn't know how to like do it or whatever. And I just wanted to make sure I was like making sure I had A+ work instead of being comfortable with B- work, which I learned from Miss Terry Dale. But I just wanted to say that I sat on it, and now I don't feel inspired anymore to share that, which I should. So my biggest mistake still today is not sharing a piece of my story here and there. So I need to do that.
Thanks, Katie. And, of course, all of us in this marketing industry, we all have stories. And what's interesting is that you'll find that the biggest marketers in this industry never stop telling stories, not just their own, but other people's stories, because stories are the magnet. That is the glue that holds a lot of stuff together. You'll be quite surprised. There'll be a lot of people that will try and do the technical stuff. They'll teach the how-tos and give it away free, but you'll be surprised at how many people don't follow that stuff. The truth of the matter is that when somebody is really into marketing or into learning how to do something, once they have the training, they will go through it. But when people are looking for you on YouTube, on Google, all they really want is to know that they are a part of something. Everybody wants to be a part of something. All you have to do is to be honest and straightforward with people, and to put your story in there so people can relate. If you're too stilted in your presentation with jarring facts, nobody remembers that stuff. People remember stories. Like, you cannot get out of your brain right now if I said, do not think of a pink elephant. It's just, it comes to you automatically. It's in your head. Don't think of a blue mouse. Don't think of, you have to visualize it. It's just powerful stuff. And that's because I am putting an image in your head. Most people don't see numbers. They don't see that sort of thing. Stories wrap things together. And with that being said, we will shoot over to Pops and ask him another lesson that he learned inside of marketing.
I was really consistent when I started, and I was consistent at being inconsistent. I would start something and not follow through, or I would post and not continue to post, or I would try out I wouldn't get results from one social media, and then I would jump to another, not really realizing that it takes longer than 2 hours to get a response from, right, I'm kidding there, but it takes longer than a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks even, or 4, to get a response from people, because they need to get used to you and see if they want to get to know you more, so they're going to listen to what you're saying again or posting. And so I was very inconsistent and bouncing all over the place. And I did some jumping from company to company because I wasn't getting results. And that was because I was not being consistent. Had I been consistent, I probably would have been, obviously I would have been more successful with any one of the companies. It doesn't matter. I think I fortunately settled into the companies that I really, really love now and I believe in. So I'm consistent, but that's not why I was inconsistent. I just didn't know any better. I wasn't realizing what I was doing. I was not consistent, and that is a big, big thing, is to be consistent.
Yeah, it's kind of like going to the gym and working out for a bit and then stopping. And then, doing a couple of reps and then walking away and thinking, oh, I've done a workout, and then you leave and you only come back 2 weeks later. But people that are in training will tell you that there is a moment, or there is a certain time when you're in training, when you're in a rhythm, when you are in the actual moment and you're making it part of your life. And this comes back to the whole idea about not being focused, and getting distracted. And the whole thing about consistency, and consistency is the key. I mean, I could give you a strategy that you could really get results with email, with video marketing, with blogging, with posting on Facebook. I could give you an actual formula that you could get results with, but it only works if you are consistently doing it every single day. The problem is people don't. They pepper their results, or they pepper their actions, and they don't follow through every single day. And I keep coming back to Shamila, but she keeps on, Shamila and Takia. Man, Takia does a motivational Monday every single Monday, every day. Sorry, I'm mistaken. Every day she does a motivational video on live, and every time you go to her, there are people listening to her because she's consistently taking action. She doesn't just do it once on a Monday and then do another one on Friday and then 2 weeks later on a Thursday. She does it every single day, and because of that, she consistently gets people reaching out to her. And this is exactly how I built my entire business up with YouTube, by consistently making binary option reviews and consistently making videos, because I did it every single day. That's how I built my entire business. It is so important to remain consistent. Don't let this stuff wash over you. Don't say, like we all say most of the time, I already know this, because I promise you, the amount of people that are not consistent in their business is astounding. It is absolutely astounding. People who are saying they're doing great aren't really doing great. And they have so much time to think about what they're going to do tomorrow, but they don't actually do anything about it. They consistently, as Pop says, they are consistently not taking consistent action and thinking about how they can be more consistent by not being consistent. It's just consistently crazy. All right. And hopefully you'll remember exactly what I've said. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to go over to one of the biggest mistakes I made in the 7 years I failed, and probably the biggest lesson I think everybody should learn when they first get started online. And this is the mistake of blaming everybody else and everything but yourself. And I'll give you a couple of examples of what I went through. So when I first got started, the thing that I blamed was my computer, because it wasn't fast enough, or it didn't load quick enough. I didn't have the right applications. And because of that, I wasn't getting a result. I would blame the time of the day. I would blame the fact that I didn't have enough time. I would blame everything. And if there was money involved, I blamed the program, or I blamed the fact that I just wasted my money. And I will tell you this, that I've spent hundreds and thousands of dollars on programs that were useless. And the thing that kept me going was actually making a conscious decision by saying, I don't care what happens, it's my fault. It's my fault. You have to take responsibility for your own actions. And even if you spent $100, $200 on a program and you find out that something didn't work out, you've wasted the money. I remember buying some traffic for $100 or 100 or 200 bucks. I bought some traffic for about 100, 200 bucks. And I gave the wrong link. And the guy sent the traffic out, and I'd wasted $200 odd on something, and I couldn't get a refund, nothing. But had I taken the same attitude of saying, I'm going to blame everybody else, I would blame that particular situation, blame that person because they didn't give me a refund, or blame this or blame that, even if it was their fault. This is my attitude. Even if it was their fault, I still take responsibility. Because ultimately, when you start blaming other things, you start creating a pattern. And at the end of the day, you are in control of your own actions. It's not anybody else's fault but yourself. And this is a fundamental, I would say, a pillar to your success, that you do not blame other people or programs or situations for your for the particular result you got. If you are true to being somebody who has integrity, who's being honest, who wants results, don't blame people. Don't blame programs. Don't blame your computer. Don't blame your family. If there's a noise going on and you can't do anything about it and you still can't concentrate, move. Get out of there. Even if you can't get out of there, if you can't produce the results, still take on that responsibility, because it will start implementing a habit that you will always say, okay, what can I do to rectify the situation? How can somebody was telling me the other day, they found this program that was absolutely excellent for their particular situation. So they bought the program for a couple of $100, and then they found out that their program couldn't even work on their Mac. It was only meant for PC. But they had purchased the product, and that didn't stop him. He just said, no, there's got to be a way that I can do this. After purchasing that product, he still went on. As opposed to the person goes, oh man, this is terrible. Oh, I'm going to write up something on what's that website called that you blame everybody on? What's it called? I can't remember the name of it.
Facebook? Just kidding.
No, not Facebook. No, there are some websites where you can write bad reviews, and you are on websites and that. And instead of doing all of that and spending all your energy just being angry, don't get angry. Stop it. It's a decision you make. If you want to stew in anger and you want to stew in resentment, that's your choice. It is your choice to get angry. It is your choice to be full of rage. It's your choice to blame, even if it is somebody else's fault. Just take responsibility and move on. That's my advice. Because otherwise you spend so much energy wasting your time on things you have no control over. So that's my advice to you. And I think, does anybody else want to say anything along those lines, or maybe Pops?
Yeah, not only energy, but time. When you get bottled up in that, and you're going to waste so much time. It's worse than inconsistency. Because when you get all bottled up in that stuff and you do start posting, your attitude is going to come through. Once you take your own responsibility in your own hands, and that is responsibility, your ability to respond in a positive way. That's where that word roots from. When you can take that responsibility, you're going to find that you're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to actually feel better about the person who's even caused an issue with that is the case, well, you need to remember that you actually put yourself in that situation to begin with. Granted, if you're still, if it's in your household, you're still there because you choose to. And if there's an issue going on in the household, it's because you're still there. It's your responsibility to find a solution. And the sooner you do and the more often you do, you'll feel a lot better about yourself. And you'll find other things that will benefit you by doing that. And I can attest to that. I have gray hair. I got some wisdom in that neighborhood because I've experienced that in myself. I have learned that no matter what happens, I put myself in that situation at some shape or form. And so I have to take responsibility to accept it and move on and change it if I can.
That's right. I mean, absolutely. And so here's a piece of advice I can also give people. Just to, this falls in line with blaming yourself, and maybe I'll take it to the extreme here. But let's just say if somebody comes to me and say, Dave, can you lend me $100? And I say, sure, and I take the money. Here's something that I live by, and I only live by this because if I don't, then I get focused on the result. I get focused on, will this ever happen or not? If I lend somebody $100, and I'm not talking like $100,000 or $1 million, I'm not talking about those deals where you've got like contracts in place. But if I'm lending somebody money, I do not expect the money back. I don't expect it back. And so when I lend somebody money, I don't. And the reason I do, and I know that some people may not agree, but I take the view of I'm taking full responsibility for my own actions. I can't make somebody give me the money back, but it also, what it does for you is it takes off the pressure. And I'm not saying now that you have to go and not pay people back. If I lend money from somebody, I absolutely want to pay them back because that's just how I live. I want to live by that standard. But for you, don't take the money back and expect that. And that makes things a lot easier because you don't have to worry about it. Because you've helped somebody else. You've helped somebody else. And I'll tell you this right now, that the marketers that do really well, the great percentages of them are the ones that give without expecting anything back. It is a fundamental principle in life that honestly I think is the best principle to live by. You may think I'm crazy for it, but I honestly do live by that standard. And I think we have time for one last lesson that we've learned from our marketing. And Jamie, you want to kick us off with the last one?
I think one thing that I really struggled with was thinking that I had to do everything myself, and when you're doing everything by yourself, and for the first 6-7 years I was in online marketing, thought I had to do everything myself: build the website, build the capture page, build a team page for my team that I didn't have a team, but I knew how to teach them how to build a team page, so I always thought I had to do everything myself, and then when I got mentors around a community, I learned that I knew a lot of stuff, but I didn't know everything. And that my community members, my business partners were there to help me along the way. And I didn't have to do it all by myself. That they were, if I was struggling with building a capture page, say, hey, Dave, look at this, or hey, Katie, look at this, and oh, try this or this or that, and it takes a lot of stress off you trying to think that you have to do it all yourself, because when you try to do it all yourself, you're not, and Pops brought this up, you're not marketing. When you're doing everything yourself, you're not focused on who your target audience is, and you're marketing to everybody. When you market to everybody, you market to nobody. So, and you're all over the place when you're trying to do everything yourself. You're trying to build capture pages, you're trying to get leads, you're trying to get sales, you're trying to prospect, you're trying to talk to people. It just a never-ending cycle, and you drive yourself insane. But the big thing I learned is get around mentors, whether they're personal mentors, silent mentors. Get around a community that will help you build and grow into the person you want to be. Try to crack jokes and stuff. Being around the people that I want to be like Dave and Katie and Pops, and Pat, it allows more of me to come out and be myself. So I get to throw a little spam jokes out there once in a while and stuff like that. But that's really my personality. But I've always been so shy that I never let my personality out. And being around these people, the community, the workshop, has allowed more of me to come out. And that's what you're here to do, is find out more of you.
Yeah, and it's certainly a point to make that, what Jamie's saying is 100% true, that you're not alone and that there are people out there who are willing to guide you and help you and point you in the right direction. When I was saying take responsibility for yourself and don't blame them with everybody else, that does not mean that you just expect people to help you. That does not mean that you expect somebody to take the reins and you sit back. And there's a very different attitude of what Jamie is talking about. Because usually as marketers, and I think I speak for everyone on this panel, certainly in the comments, that if somebody is in need or want help, that we are more than willing to help somebody if we can see that they actually are willing to take responsibility for themselves and actually do the work, because that's ultimately what we are about, is helping each other. And that's a really good point, Jamie. Thanks. Katie.
Just in response to what Jamie was saying, with me around, you can be as weird as you want, because nobody can be as weird as me, and you can still feel comfortable. So let it fly, man. One of the mistakes that I have made, and I've known this since I started in 2013, and I actually implemented it for the first time this year, and I can't believe I waited this long to actually do it, is to schedule a time and work, productive work time, right? I started doing a schedule, and I started to do like maybe a 60-minute timer. I started with a 60-minute timer, and that's perfect because 90 minutes is a little bit too long. Half hour isn't long enough. So I did 60 minutes. So I did 60 minutes of complete productive work, which means no Facebook, no answering emails, no answering text messages or phone calls unless it's my mom. But I had to do that, and I have to tell you that I have never felt so productive by doing that in all the years that I've been online since 2013. I don't feel all over the place. I feel more structured and I feel more focused. And it's amazing what the person can do when they put complete focus in 1 hour than trying to do 5 tasks a day and maybe getting it done. But you could still have those same 5 tasks and do an hour here, hour there, hour there, hour there. And it's an amazing, I don't know how it really works. It's magical, but I feel more productive, and I actually get more done in setting a time. So that was the lesson that I learned, is just to tell everybody to set a timer. Just do it. I've known this, and I just never did it. So now I'm saying to you that you got to do it.
Yeah, one of the things that my original mentor taught me about time was that he was saying, get yourself an egg timer, right? And if you have to do something like do a blog, all right, set the timer for about 10 minutes and then write the blog in 10 minutes. And then when it's finished, you stop and move on to the next thing. So you said, because that will teach you to hurry things up and not to waste any time. So you can have little block timing moments where you have to work and then move on to the next thing, because all of us have this. Like I have to send an email out virtually every day, so I make sure I get that done. I make sure I put something valuable on Facebook. I make sure I get something out there, and that's and I have to do it. And I have these block time sets where I do that, and it's become a habit now, so I don't really think about it that often because I've done it so often. And that's a really good thing, is to actually set up time, especially if you have a busy day. And I say busy day because everybody has time, unless you work for NORAD or 24-hour missile watch. Yes, Katie.
I want to give out a quick example because Mary Beth really likes the idea of setting a timer. I know a friend of mine who wrote a book. She's the bestseller in 3 categories on Amazon right now. And she had a coach that told her, okay, it takes you 6 hours to write a chapter, but you got to go down to 2 hours. And she had no idea how to do it. But when she got rid of all the distractions, she reserved the 2 hours for research and then writing a chapter in 1 hour. She says she's written better, she's been more focused, and I had the same results when I started to do that. So I just wanted to give out an example.
Cool. Thanks. Thank you, Mary Beth. And so I want to go over to Pops. And Pops, have you got one last nugget you want to drop?
Yeah, I made a big mistake in not finding my audience right away. Jamie touched on it when he spoke last, that you're throwing stuff against the wall, or you're marketing to everybody. You're marketing to nobody. So you need to find whatever niche you're in, find that audience, find that age group, or whatever product you happen to be working with. It's going to appeal to a certain audience, and that is what you need to find. Most of us, we're mostly all alike. We want the same results, but we're not all going to want to get there in the same way, or we're not going to want to use the same products to get to the same end result. So find the audience that likes what you have to offer and approach them with your attractive self. And they're going to follow you and they're going to buy from you if you do it right. And that's a big thing that I learned. And researching for my audience is a big part of what I do.
And yeah, I mean, it's absolutely true. And what Pops is saying is 100% correct. We were actually talking about this the other day, right, Pops, about focusing on your audience and speaking to them instead of being general. It's always a good idea to know who you're talking to, otherwise you're not really targeting anyone at all. The last point I want to bring up, geez, I've got 10 points I want to cover today, but we don't have time. Maybe we'll carry on with this next week. But I do want to say that 2 things I want to discuss, but I think I'll do this one. And I think everyone can relate to this. So this one thing that definitely stilted my growth. It definitely blocked me from working on my skill set, was that I was trying to do everything at once. And I'll give you an example of how that works out. So we're involved with a system called My Lead System Pro. And when you get started with My Lead System Pro, we often tell people to get into the actual system and get everything set up and get your links sorted out, buy your domains, get everything forwarded and masked, get your blog set up, go through all of the basic setup steps. And that'll take you a while. But the problem is that My Lead System Pro, not that this is a problem for them, but the problem is that My Lead System Pro have these webinars that come on every Wednesday. Nothing wrong with that, but here's the problem. So somebody gets started on a Monday, or even they get started on a Tuesday, and they go through the entire system to get everything set up, right? That's what we tell them to do. Then Wisdom Wednesday, not Wisdom Wednesday, I've got that on the brain. Then the Wednesday Hangout comes on for My Lead System Pro, and they're talking about getting traffic with Facebook. And so they watch this traffic strategy and they go, whoa, this is really great. This really works. They get leads, they get sales. I'm going to start doing that. So they start doing this for about a week and they're forgetting about setting up their business. And then the following week comes around and now they're doing a hangout on building your email list. And now they go, oh, this is great. Now I got to learn how to build my email list, and they still haven't set up their business. And then the following, it's a hangout on Twitter. And then the following, it's a hangout on selling products. And then the following week, it's a hangout on, and it just keeps on going. And the problem is that you're not focused in on one particular thing. And you get so distracted by so many things happening out there that you haven't even completed the skill set that you're trying to learn. And so as marketers, and I used to do this. I used to be there every single week. But the problem is that I'd watch it, get all excited, and start working on it, and my other project was left in the lurch. You've got to focus on one thing at a time. It's going to take you time. Time is the key ingredient. Without time, think of time like when you're baking a cake and you've put a cake in the oven and now it has to rise. And if you keep looking inside the oven, that cake's going to flop. And then you've got to bake a new cake and you've got to put it back in. And then you can't wait. So you open it up at the last minute and it sinks again. You have to let that rise. Your time has to go by. If you keep opening that oven door, you're going to keep distracting your progress. So focus in on a skill set, learn that skill set, and then once you've done that and you've mastered it, move on to the next one. All right, so keep that in mind. Don't for any moment think that you can tackle 8 things at once and think that you can learn 8 things at once, because you cannot. The only reason that myself, Katie, Pops, and Jamie, and many people watching on this Hangout can do a lot of things at once is because we've mastered these skill sets. And we can just drop this and then carry on to the next. If you don't know how to do video marketing, for instance, learn how to do that. Learn how to rank your videos like I did. I learned how to rank videos. That was my first skill set. I didn't get any results with the videos, but man, I could rank them. And then once I learned how to do that, then I learned how to speak inside of my videos so that people would listen to me. And then once I learned that, I honed in on keyword research. And then I had 3 skill sets that amounted to me actually getting a result. If I just do the ranking and then I get distracted about doing something else, and then I get distracted about doing something else, I'm not going to get anywhere. Focus in on one skill set. Yes, and I think what we'll do, if it's all right with the panel, is we'll carry on with the next set of biggest mistakes. Because I've got a whole bunch here that I want to cover, and I haven't had time to finish it, and we're on the top of the hour. And we're actually exactly over the hour because we started at 6 minutes past. But I just want everybody to know, don't forget to be on for Wisdom Wednesday, because we've got a special hangout coming out, and especially for those people who are involved with the system, we've got something special for you. And if you're not in that system as well, so make sure you're on Wisdom Wednesday. You've got to be there, because we've got an amazing topic we want to talk about. And now let's go through the panel. We'll start off with Pops. Any last words you want to say before we leave?
Just have a great week, everyone, and remember your responsibilities. And take care. Thanks for being here.
Awesome. Jamie?
Oh, thanks everybody for being here. And remember, we're human beings. We all make mistakes. So it doesn't matter what your big blunder is. We've all made them.
Absolutely. And Katie?
I just wanted to do a last note on what Mary Beth was saying. She says she's learned that it takes her about 3 hours to learn something. And I think it's cute that she said, okay, it's a bother. Yes, it is tedious. And there's stuff that we have to make sacrifices, like Dave says, and it's a bothersome. But I do want to say that going through that process, not only will you become a better business owner, but also you're going to be learning skill sets that can literally take you anywhere on this whole online space and sell anything. And you go out there and people are like, who are very successful at this online stuff, and they ask that really simple question, that really popular question: if you had to start over, what would you do? They knew exactly what to do because they went through that process and gone through those sacrifices and learning those skill sets that will last them a lifetime. So yes, I did struggle and battled through this whole thing for the first 2.3 years before I found Dave, and who taught me a lot of things. And I still had to go through some skill sets. I could take all this stuff that I've learned in almost 5 years online, and I can run any business, and I have. I can actually take on multiple streams of income now, not multiple MLMs, mind you. Don't do that. Multiple streams of income, and basically take all the skills that I've learned and just run with it. I know exactly what to do. So instead of taking me 7 months to make a funnel, I could do it in 7 minutes. So I'm just throwing that out there.
No, that's true. And I'll say this from my experience that it was 2 days ago, I saw another system I wanted to get involved in. And I set up a funnel in less than 5 minutes. Because of all the skill sets I have, I've set it up and it's ready to go. And it's another system that I'm working on because I want another income stream. And it's because of all the skill sets I've learned that I can now do this. And I have had situations where my income has gone to zero, and I just build it right up again because I have the skill set to do that. And it's only because of the stuff that we've told you about, the stuff that we have learned from and grown from. So please be very careful about these mistakes. Learn from them. And, you know, in some cases, I'll tell you, it doesn't matter how many times you tell somebody, they have to go through it to learn it. Sometimes it's not going to, you know, I mean, who are we, right? But, you know, there'll be a person listening to this saying, oh, I'm not going to listen to them. And they're just going to spam, and they're going to spam, they're going to spam, and they're going to get no results. And then someone's actually going to call them out on it, and they're going to realize it because they've actually gone through that process. And as I said to somebody else about a year ago, he actually found me in the white pages, booted at the gate until I came out, and he said, can you please show me what to do? And I did. I said, here's what you need to do, but I want to preface this by saying you probably won't do it. And he just laughed at me, and we spoke for like 2 hours, and I haven't heard from him since. So honestly, take with it what you will, but I'm telling you right now that what we are saying is incredibly important. And it may seem like you don't need to hear it because you know it already, but please take this to heart, because it's the one thing, or what we're covering here is the thing that's going to take you to the next level. I promise you that.
Can I say one more thing about
yeah, sure, go for it.
Going through all this process and learning and understanding exactly from point A to point Z, which is point A is starting, like, say, a product to sell, all the way to Z, which is making the sale. It's learning the skill sets from going A to Z. And I said in the comments, and I just wanted to say it for the video's sake, is that it's a beautiful process to learn the necessary skills to get from point A to point B. Then later on, you can actually hire someone to do those tasks. You know what I mean? Because then you could hire somebody and you know exactly what to hire them for. Like, say, build a funnel or build a website or something, and you know exactly what is, you know, the schematics of it. So you know what you're talking about.
Totally. Thanks, Katie. And with that being said, we're going to say goodbye. You have a fantastic evening. It's 4 o'clock in the morning over here. I know it's 4 o'clock in the morning for Stephen as well. And for those living in the UK, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So we appreciate you watching and staying up and being here. We love you to death. Please come back next time, same place for another Monday Mastermind. You have a great, great evening. Cheers.